Today is Sunday, January 29th, 2023, and today marks the beginning of Catholic Schools Week. Just right before I get into anything, I want to say that I myself am a product of Catholic education. All the way from pre-K 4 to my master's degree, I was in Catholic education, and I am very, very grateful for my parents' decision and God's intervention in that. And I want to, during this Catholic Schools Week, urge my listeners and my locals, patrons, to give Catholic education a chance and a shot. Okay? Here in the United States and in Canada, there are three options. And I'm going to go, in my opinion, from the and I think all the options have some quality to them, from worst to best. And obviously, it's going to be biased because of the schooling I went through. So, what's the first option? The first option is public education. It's free through the taxpayer dollar. It's close, and it's always available, right? And that's pretty much where the pros, in my opinion, end. Depending on your municipality, your zip code, whatever your school district is, it could be a fair education, a good education, or a very below average standard education. If you live in a school district that is highly funded, your child may receive a good education. But at the end of the day, education through a public system is going to be through the least common denominator, or the most common denominator, or lowest common denominator, right? And so what does that mean? It means it's going to equalize education to whatever the average standard of living or cost or social group or ethnic group is, or whatever the population is going to be. So it's going to take every Tom, Dick, and Harry, every girl, boy, every person into account, and give them a standardized education. It's not going to take into consideration, to the extent you want, what your child's needs are. They're going to give a standard curriculum, standard textbooks, depending on how good your district is, a high standard, a low standard, whatever. Depending on your how much money your district has, they might have an up-to-date textbook. They may have one that is out of date and therefore somewhat inaccurate. Their access to technology and other digital resources will be lower. Okay? So, and not to mention, many districts have an agenda. There are many morals or values, quote unquote, that the United States and its municipalities and states hold, that they're trying to instill into our children, that are completely opposed to the Catholic faith and the faith of most other mainline Christian groups. And so you may not want your children or child to receive those standards or those values. That's incredibly problematic. That is going to be an issue for our future. You do not want your children to be instilled with values that oppose our faith. I'm not going to go into details onto which ones. I would hope that you know which ones those are. And they do not take faith into consideration at all. So what's the second option? The second option would be a private school or a country day school or a boarding school. These schools are certainly available. Their prices are high, and perhaps they're not close. What do you get in return? The value of the education will certainly be higher than that of many public schools. Many of these schools were created in order to combat the lack of quality in public education. But they are going to be expensive. Many of these private schools or country day schools or boarding schools may be more expensive than a standard college education in this day and age. I know someone who's paying around $30,000 a year for their child's education in a secular private school. He is getting a good education, but there's a lot that's missing. First of all, there will not be any Catholic value incorporated into the curriculum whatsoever. These schools may hold some values that are good and true, but there's no substitution for the real thing whatsoever. These schools may also be giving the same agenda as our modernized, secularized, and anti-clerical Catholic schools, or public schools. And so, although these may be giving good values, oftentimes these schools are too expensive or too far away, and they may also be not giving you the correct values that you're hoping for. So your third option is, of course, Catholic schools in the United States, right? Catholic schools are often more affordable than other private schools, but are also more accessible. But they also give the same value of education and same quality of education. These schools are often focused on classical style of education, which means focusing on the philosophy of the ancient Greeks and Romans, focusing on a more traditional style and interpretation of literature and history, and a proper focus on science, math, and engineering. And they also provide the proper presence of Catholic values and teachings. Now you may be wondering to yourself, why can't I just do these Catholic things at home? You certainly can, and you should, and I hope that you do. But the problem is that there is no major community based off of that. In a Catholic school, there's going to be other kids with your kids that are going to be praying together, fundraising together, doing charitable work together, going to mass together, learning together, and most importantly, possibly, is having fun and growing up together. Kids in Catholic schools have a community, and if they see other kids doing what they're doing, i.e. praying, giving alms, going to mass, and receiving a high quality education, then they will realize the importance of it. If it's just at home, they will see the importance, but they will not have necessarily the community value behind it. And so it's incredibly important to be doing these things at home, but also sending your kids to a place in which they are gaining that community. And you know that the parents of these children are also valuing the culture of the Catholic faith as well. That is also incredibly important. Something else that Catholic school instills in our children is value for the future of our country. Classical Catholic education is a time-proven experiment, I guess you could say. Charles Carroll of Carrollton is one of our founding fathers, and he was placed in Catholic education. He was from Maryland, and he is hugely instrumental and influential in the establishment of our republic. And that is extremely important to know, that many of our greatest achievers here in the United States and in other places around the world were brought up in Catholic education. Even if you do not have kids, or your kids are already in some school system or went through another school system, please consider transferring them to a Catholic school or donating to a Catholic school. Many of these Catholic schools are facing financial hardship or burden, and so in order to lighten that load, I urge you to donate to your local Catholic parochial school, Catholic high school, or perhaps both. If you do not have children or your children are already grown, please take into consideration the future of your brothers and sisters and your future generation of Catholics by possibly donating to your parish or to the local Catholic school in your area. I'm very grateful for the decision that my parents made to send me to Catholic grammar school, K through 8, Catholic high school, and a Catholic university. I'm a very proud graduate of Seton Hall University, and that instilled in me a great deal of Catholic values and teachings. I feel the benefit of Catholic education, and I know for certain that you and your children will as well. Thank you very much, and God bless.